How you doing? Hopefully you're having a great day. If you are, great. That's the way it should be. If not, let me go ahead and take your mind off of things for a little bit. We'll get into some of these developing stories as well as some breaking news that happened earlier today. Give you my thoughts on it, and we'll kind of get out of your hair. So, the breaking news deals with Dame Lillard. I'll get into that. You saw the title of the video, so obviously Dame Lillard did get traded. We'll talk about which team he's going to and the implications of that move. Also, want to talk about the college football playoff because there's been some news on the front with the expanded format, what could happen depending on the Pac-12, what happens there. I'll talk about that. Recap my picks from week 3. Spoiler alert, I had a really good week. So if you decide to follow my picks and go on FanDuel, DraftKings, or whatever and do your thing, you're welcome. But, we'll talk about that, some of the big games and developments from the past week. And then even with all that going on, there's a Thursday night football game that I'm going to talk about, give you my pick, kind of break down the matchup, see the keys and all that. You know how it goes. Let's go ahead, let's get into it, and let's have some fun. So, you already know how it goes. Gotta talk about Dame Lillard because that's obviously the biggest news story of the day. He finally is on his way out of Portland, which is what he wanted. Is he going to the spot he wanted to go? Not necessarily, because he's going to Milwaukee and not Miami, which it's fine, right? There's no problem with that. The question's going to be now, because spent all this time talking about, he wanted to be in Miami. If he went to another team, he was going to still get to Miami somehow. But he is in Milwaukee with Giannis. We already know that when Giannis steps on the court, he's thinking championship or bust, which apparently is supposed to be the motivation for Dame leaving Portland, so he shouldn't have a problem being in Milwaukee. Now, obviously, when he has his introductory press conference and everything like that, he's going to say all the right things. He'll say, this is where I want to be, I'm happy to play with Giannis, everything like that, which I'm not going to doubt it. It's probably very much true. But we'll have to see, what it looks like on the court. Because as you can see here, I do have the trade up on, the screen here. So the Bucks get Dame Lillard. Obviously, that was the prize for them. Now, in the process, they do lose Drew Holiday, their 2029 first-round pick, and then pick swap go to Portland. Which we'll have to see what Portland does with Drew Holiday, because they do have Scoot Henderson. I doubt Drew Holiday's going to go there to, back him up, or I don't know. Would they start him in the same backcourt? I doubt that. So expect to see Drew Holiday get flipped. They get DeAndre Ayton because Phoenix is the third part of this equation. So Phoenix is basically swapping Ayton for Nurkic. I don't know how to really take that. Is that a plus? Is it a wash? Well, it's probably a plus because Ayton wanted out. That was evident. It just was. He had the offer sheet with Indiana. He seemed like he was happy to finally leave. Phoenix brought him back. Last year was miserable for him. So he gets a new, start to his career with Portland. Nurkic, I guess, and Grayson Allen as well, joined Phoenix, which you would say would probably bolster the bench that they have behind their starting 5. Although I guess Nurkic becomes the replacement for Ayton in the starting 5. But we'll see what Phoenix decides to do with their starting lineup now. That's basically the gist of the trade. Look, I think Vegas has already put the Bucks as the favorite to win it all next season. I don't know if I'm going that far, because I do think my Celtics are still going to be part of the equation. We'll see what Miami does. They spent their whole offseason making it seem like they were going to get Dame no matter what. Now that they haven't gotten him, what do? Do they now try to call Portland and say, hey, what would you get? What do you want for Drew Holiday? I think there's reports that Philly might be in on Drew Holiday, so that could be a bidding war between those two to get Drew Holiday services. I mean, I believe all the big names are kind of accounted for at this point because Lillard was the last piece to get moved. But if you're a Heat fan, you lost some of your perimeter shooters, banking on the fact that Lillard was coming at some point in the offseason, and now that you don't have him, like, what do you think about that? I mean, I think in some cities, once again, I don't know how Miami sports talk radio and all that goes on, but it seems like something, being from Boston and everything, like if the Celtics had set their minds on Lillard the whole offseason and didn't get him, Celtics fans would be livid. They'd be losing their minds. So I want to know, Heat fans, are you feeling the same way? For the Blazers, like I said, I feel like they're going to probably move Drew Holiday. I mean, they get the 2029 first round pick. It's an asset. We'll say that. Blazers clearly aren't trying to win right now. So they at least get the Lillard part of the equation out the building. That would have been a big distraction for this young team as they're trying to build something now in the Scoot Henderson era. So it's a win for them. They moved them, they moved on, they got whatever in return. Whatever you want to put on it. For the Suns, they get, I guess, bench depth with this. They get a big man that they hope would actually want to be in Phoenix, and because of that, would be an upgrade over Ayton, just for mentality and his ability to play. Now, obviously, everyone's going to look at the Bucks part of this. So, is it intriguing to see Dame and Giannis on the court together? Yes. But I don't know if I'm going to make them the overwhelming favorite just because of this move. I've said before, I don't know if Dame is a, championship level type of player, meaning I never thought he could be the best player on a championship winning team. We saw that in Portland. He'd have all these great seasons and everything. What would happen with Portland? If they make the playoffs, first round exit most of the time. I think he made the Western Conference Finals, I believe, one season. So, it is what it is with Dame. It's just more of it's tough in the NBA to have your undersized guard being your best player and expect to win at the highest level. That's just how it is right now. So now he goes to Milwaukee. He's not the number one, because Giannis is number one in Milwaukee. No doubt about that. We'll get to see Dame in a, I guess, Robin number 2 role. We'll see how he does with that. Are there going to be times late in the game where he holds the ball too much? He takes a forced 3 or something like that, while Giannis is looking for the ball. We'll have to see what the chemistry is between the two of them. They'll probably run a lot of pick and roll between the two. Could be interesting. It's going to give defenses something to think about. But I'm not going to, like I said, overwhelmingly crown them yet, because I want to see what it looks like on the court. But it makes for a very interesting NBA season, not going to lie. There's what's going on in the East. Look, Milwaukee made their move. The Celtics made the Porzingis move. The Knicks are still trying to develop and build off of last season. Although I still think they need to move Julius Randle. We'll see what happens there. Philly still has to make a decision on James Harden, what they're going to do with him. Miami's got to do something now that Dame Lillard isn't going to South Beach. Indiana's the team that I think is flying under the radar for whatever reason. They improved over the offseason with Bruce Brown. You figure Halliburton's going to be healthy. They should be part of all the talk in the East. Cleveland, who I think was in the news for maybe a week or so, where They were talking about how Donovan Mitchell and whatever wouldn't re-sign in Cleveland or whatever like that. But Cleveland, you figure, should be a factor this year. So the East is going to be interesting. The West, we already know, is pretty wide open behind Denver, and it looks like it's going to still be the same next season. But I can't wait for the NBA season. Let me know if you're an NBA fan, and what do you think about the Dame Lillard trade. But let's go on to our next story here. The college football playoff. So they met over the past couple of days to talk about like contingency plans if the Pac-12, well, not if, but when the Pac-12 is no more, which I guess they could salvage it if they like partner up with Mountain West or something, become a new Pac-12, then I guess they would keep their power status. But as of right now, Pac-12 would be a group of 5 conference, because the 2 remaining teams will have to join somewhere or bring, I don't know what they're going to do. But either way, the current model was based off of the Pac-12 being a Power 5 conference, which is no longer going to be the case. So they were throwing out, what do they do with the Pac-12 not being around? How do they configure the 12-team playoff then? So they were kicking around the idea of, because right now it's a 6 model. So you have your Power 5 champions plus the highest ranked group of 5 conference champion makes your 6 conference champions, and then they do 6 highest ranked teams after that to get your 12. So if you take the Pac-12 out of the equation, there's 2 ways to go about it. If you still want to keep 6 and 6, that means now you've opened up a second spot for a group of 5 conference winner to get into the playoff. I wouldn't be mad at that. I know some college football fans would probably hate that, because that second team would be even lesser than the one group of 5 conference winner, which I understand. Then you just make it a 5 and 7 model with your Power 4 at that point champions, your one group of 5, make your 5, and then you just take the 7 best teams after that. Which I do think is ultimately what they end up doing. It's just that they were voting on it because if they wanted to make a certain change with the Pac-12, they have to do it like by next Wednesday if they want to implement it for 2024, I believe. And I think the vote came and went, nothing happened because it has to be unanimous, so we'll see. But I did a couple of scenarios to let you know what it would look like. So the current format as is with the Pac-12 intact this final season, even though the playoff is next year, just saying that if this was next year, this is what it would look like. Your top 4 seeds who would get the first round bye would be Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Florida State. So that's your SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC. Your 5th seed would be your Pac-12 champion in Washington. And then your group of 5 champion is Fresno State. So they would be your 6. Then the wild card, I guess you would kind of say, would go with Ohio State, Penn State, rounding out your home teams. Then the road teams would be, USC going to Penn State. Great matchup. Oregon at Ohio State. Sign me up. Utah at Fresno State. I believe at one point those 2 were in the same conference, so why not? And then Notre Dame, Washington. Pretty cool. This is one of those reasons why I've always said the expanded playoff was always going to work, because you're still going to get great matchups in the playoff. So it's not that big of a deal. But that's the current format. If you looked at next year, if the Pac-12 was still going to be around. Not bad, right? So this would be the format without the Pac-12, adding in a second group of 5 conference winner. So you still have Georgia and Michigan, Texas, Florida State. Those 4 wouldn't change. Now the change comes with Washington no longer being the 5 seed. It'd be Fresno State. So Fresno State just jumps to the other side of the bracket. They jump from the Michigan, Texas side to the Georgia, Florida State side. Depending on how you feel about that, maybe you count that as a win if you're a Fresno State fan. But now your 6th and second group of 5 team would be Tulane. Yeah, Tulane. So Tulane would get Oregon, Fresno State, although still keeps Utah because now Washington becomes the highest. No, not Washington. Ohio State actually becomes the highest ranked non-conference champion. But you still get great matchups. You get Penn State, Ohio State. So that's just a Big Ten matchup again. You get Washington, USC, Pac-12 matchup. Tulane, Oregon, maybe is the matchup you would look at and be like, I don't care. But once again, you get Fresno State, Utah. So that's without the Pac-12, keeping the same format. Once again, not mad at it. But this is where I think we ultimately end up with no Pac-12. You just do your Power 4 and the one group of 5, and now you have 7 of your wild card teams, if you want to say. Once again, Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Florida State don't change. The difference between this one and the last one is Tulane is not a part of the equation. Some of you would probably be applauding that at this point. Fresno State does now become, so basically you just switch Fresno State and Washington. That's the only difference between this one and the first one I showed you. So you get Fresno State, Notre Dame, you would get Washington, Utah, Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State, USC stay the same. Once again, still pretty good matchups, and I feel like this is where we're going to end up with the no Pac-12 5+7. I doubt I see a scenario where they allow a second group of 5 champion into the playoff. I think that's the least likely to happen, whereas the 5+7 is the most likely. So you let me know, comment section of course, I guess which format are you down for? Are you a fan of the expanded playoff? And do you think there could be more expansion down the line? Like, is there a scenario where we see college football as a 16-team playoff? Will they ever get to like the FCS level? I mean FBS level, which is basically like the division, the step below the NCAA, where I think their playoff is 32 teams. Could you imagine that with the FCS here? That'd be interesting. Maybe some episode I'll put a 32-team bracket and we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, so college football is, so we have one more year, the 14 playoff, and then we got the 12 team next season. I can't wait. I'm assuming you can't either. You can let me know that in the comments as well. All right, so now over to the NFL. So if you remember, past couple of weeks, kind of struggled. I went 5-11 the first week. Second week, I believe I was 7-8-2. This week, I went 12-5 with my picks. As I said in the little intro, if you made some decisions on DraftKings and FanDuel because of my picks, you are absolutely welcome. No problem. Always happy to help. But what also happened with this 12-5 week is now, look at this. I'm now at 500, 24-2. Before the season started, I said I wanted to be at 55% at least. We're well on our way. And who knows, if the bold prediction had happened, it would have been an even better week, but it was over under 38.5. Ended up being 27-3, so it was at 30. My prediction was over. I missed that one, but looking at this past week, there was a lot of great games. Well, not, let me back up on the great games part, but A lot of interesting scorelines. I mean, you probably have heard about it, talked about it with your friends and everything. The 70 points that Miami dropped on Denver. Who saw that coming? Now there's a lot of questions about Denver going forward. Like, what are they going to do? How do they fix this? You know, it's like one of those moments where you watch like a video with an avalanche is happening and snowball just keeps getting bigger and bigger as it goes down the mountain. That's where Denver is at this point. Their season is getting away from them really quickly, and they gotta figure out something to do. We saw Arizona pull off, I guess, the upset of the week, beating Dallas as a 12.5 point underdog. Shout out to Arizona. Josh Dobbs and that group over there, they're playing hard. You know, nobody's giving them expectation to win a lot of games this season, but they're not getting blown out. They're making it a fight for teams that go up against them. I respect that. We saw the Colts beat the Ravens. Ravens struggled offensively yet again. Colts took advantage with Gardner Minshew. Wasn't even Anthony Richardson under center. It was an overtime game. Kind of an ugly game, but the Colts come out of that with the win. Lead the AFC South. I'm not lying to you there. At 2-1, the Colts lead the AFC South. Everybody else is 1-2. The Texans got their first win of the season, beating the Jaguars, and beat them handily, 37-17. Questions about the Jaguars and their mentality. Something's off with them as well. What are they going to do to bounce back? My Patriots, got to talk about them. They beat the Jets in a game that was low scoring. Yes, the weather was pretty bad. But the encouraging part of that game to me was the running game got going. We saw a really effective Zeke. You know, Zeke looked like he had a little burst to him. He was very shifty behind the line. He had a very productive day. Ramondre Stevenson got back on track. We saw Mac Jones make some plays in the passing game. You know, Chad Ryland did miss a couple of kicks, which is a little troubling, but I'll count that to the weather. One was, you know, just outside the upright. I think the second was a pretty bad miss, but like I said, we'll equate that to the weather. The Bengals got a win over the Rams. You know, a lot of people looking at the Bengals. Would Joe Burrow play? Should he play? Does he need to play? He played. Was he 100% Joe Burrow? No. But they got the win. He got the ball to chase his hands. He found Higgins a few times. Higgins a few times. Although Higgins had a couple of drops, which was a little, you know, unpredicted. So they made enough plays. Their defense was great. Hendrickson, Hubbard, those guys up front, pestered Stafford. So it's definitely a good look for Cincinnati going forward. I think Bengals fans can breathe a little bit now. Let's see. We have Tennessee and Cleveland, as I mentioned. Cleveland beat them 27-3. A game that I thought might have been the most tightly contested of the week. Did not turn out so. You know, Tennessee once again struggled to get Derrick Henry going. And I do think he's going to be the big key to Tennessee if they're going to win games. They have to get the running game going because that allows Tannehill to run, play action, and everything like that to be successful. If they can't get Henry going, then teams don't respect the run, which means they're just going to tee off on Tannehill and you'll see him struggle. So it's not, you know, completely in Tannehill's hands as to why Tennessee hasn't gotten up to a good start to the season yet. We saw more futility from the Bears, but they were playing the Chiefs, so I guess you give them a pass for that. Although the whole Justin Fields thing is definitely alarming. I was one of those who thought he was in for a much improved season. We just haven't seen it yet. Questions are going to be, when's it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And if it doesn't happen, does Chicago need to move on from him? I still think he can be the answer in Chicago, We have to see some of the pieces around him get a little bit better. But I have a feeling Bears fans are gonna get a little anxious with him because they would hate to see the Bears waste more years on him if he just never becomes that guy. Speaking of kind of young quarterbacks, because Justin Fields is still pretty young, but I did talk about the Texans. I think it was last week I said Anthony Richardson might be the best of the Stroud, Young, Richardson trio. Stroud, probably a little bit under the radar, is having a really good season. So I do think that Stroud has now reclaimed number one out of the three. Richardson, will have to see when he can get back because he did miss the game. Like I said, Minshew started. What else do we have? The battle of teams with their finger right above the panic button. The Chargers and the Vikings. Chargers got the win late in that game, although Staley did all he could to give it away, so he still doesn't look good even though the team won. Minnesota, now there's questions like, if the Vikings continue to struggle and not win games, should they look to move Kirk Cousins? Which, look, I feel like that is a discussion Minnesota should have, because Kirk Cousins can still play in this league. He can still put up numbers. It's just not happening in Minnesota right now. And the team that a lot of people are looking at, the Jets, who Zach Wilson struggled again against New England. New England has a pretty good defense. How much of that can you put on Zach Wilson? The Jets signed Trevor Siemian during the week. Yes, Trevor Siemian. Get the parades ready to go. But he's currently the backup to Zach Wilson. That cannot be the only move they make at the quarterback position, but if it is, more power to you Jets fans. I think I touched on basically all the key results. Oh, well, Falcons lost to the Lions on the road. I kind of said that when I made my pick. The Falcons on the road are a completely different team than when they're at home, and we saw that again this past weekend. Something they definitely have to figure out and fix, because if they continue to lose road games, then it just makes it tougher for them to be a playoff team. And in that division, they actually have a really good chance of getting to the playoffs, but they gotta figure out a way to play better on the road. They just have to. Jordan Love engineered a fourth quarter comeback. They were down 17-0. He led the Packers to 18 points. They won 18-17 over Saints team that lost Derek Carr. And we saw Jameis Winston. There's a name you haven't heard in a while. Make an appearance. He got some throws in. He wasn't able to make a comeback of his own and reclaim the win for the Saints, but they dropped that game. Then Buffalo continued their better play, taking apart a Commanders defense that is not bad. Up front, they have some really good guys. Chase Young, Sweat, and guys like that who can get after the quarterback. Josh Allen had another good day, and Buffalo got another good win early in the season. So I think that covers about everything I wanted to talk about. Oh, well, Baker Mayfield and his Bucks couldn't beat the Eagles. Eagles didn't look 100% like last year, but once again, they found a way to get a win. So they find themselves at 3-0, which that's kind of the most important part, that they're getting wins right now. All right. So once again, let me know what you thought about this past week. Did you make any decisions on DraftKings or whatever, FanDuel, based off of my picks? Did it work out for you? Let me know in the comments section. If it did, great. If not, my bad. I mean, if you happen to, go with one of the games I did not get right, then yes, my bad. If you didn't act on it, get another opportunity. I guess this weekend I'll do my picks for week 4. All right, the final story. Thursday Night Football, we have the Lions and the Packers going at it. Now, I believe the spread favors the Lions in this one. Just double checking. Well, we have Jordan Love versus Jared Goff. We have the favorites coming into this season in the Lions versus kind of everybody's new favorite, the Packers, and the way that Jordan Love has looked so far this season. The Packers are a home underdog, and this one at a 1.5. So when I look at this matchup, I think both teams are kind of similar in a way. And the fact that it is at Lambeau Field makes me want to lean towards Jordan Love and the Packers. I mean, we did see last season, Detroit at the end of the year went into Green Bay in a game they had to have to keep their hopes of making the playoffs alive. Take on Aaron Rodgers and beat them. So I don't think they're going to be intimidated by going into Lambeau Field. But obviously, like I said, it's a new look team. We got Jordan Love back there. Not we, because I'm not a Packers fan, but they have Jordan Love back there instead of Aaron Rodgers. He can make some plays with his legs. He's made quite a few plays with his arm. He seems very confident back there. Detroit rebounded. I guess it's a weird little symmetry between these two teams. They both won week 1. They both won last week. And they also have 2 bad losses, if you want to say, early in the season in week 2, where they both had leads late and ended up losing it. Green Bay lost to Atlanta. The Lions lost to the Seahawks in similar fashion, losing leads late in the game. So between these two, there's going to be a matchup to claim sole possession of first place in the division. So like I said, I'm looking at this. Green Bay is a 1.5 underdog. I think I got to go with Green Bay on this one. And like I said, it's mainly because it's in Green Bay. I think these two teams split the season series. So when they face off in Detroit later in the year, I'm expecting Detroit to win that one. Also, an interesting part is if you look at Green Bay, they technically should be 3-0. They should have won that Atlanta game. They kind of let that one slip through their fingers. And if you look at them statistically, offensively and defensively, they're in like the 20s in passing yards, rushing yards, scoring, total yardage a game, which is interesting. Now, defensively, they're kind of in the teens in every category. Same with the Lions. Lions are kind of the same way as well. The Lions are really good against the run. Now, Green Bay is like 23rd in the league in rushing yards per game. But they are expected to get Aaron Jones back in this one. So we'll have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon once again back there as the 1-2 punch in the running game. Maybe Green Bay tries to rely on the running game a little bit more in this one to test how good Detroit's rushing defense is. But yeah, I'm not going to count out Detroit necessarily because I think Detroit's been playing well this year. Started off their year great with the Kansas City win. And like I said, rebounded from the Seattle loss. Got a win in week 3. I think Montgomery's going to be out as a running back, so Gibbs, we'll probably see more of him behind Goff. Yeah, I'm going to stick with Green Bay plus the 1.5. I think Love and that team find a way to get it done late in the game to seal it. But I do think Detroit's going to still look good in this game. Now, coming into the season, I did think Minnesota's going to win the division. Definitely moving off of that. But I think I might have to put my backing on the Packers in this division right now. Like I said, Love has just brought an energy to the team that I think they can carry through the season and win the division. Wouldn't be surprised if them and the Lions maybe tied. It comes up to a tiebreaker as like an 8-9, maybe 10 at best win team. But yeah, give the Packers plus 1.5. Let me know in the comments if you agree, or are you looking to take the Lions minus the 1.5? Definitely let me know down in the comment section. But yeah, that's actually all I got for you. Which is a little sad. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so yeah, those are the stories I have for you. But like I said, with each of them, let me know down in the comment section your thoughts. We can talk about it down there, go a little back and forth. Shout out to all of you who, I guess, follow me on TikTok or Instagram or wherever, because I am starting to put out more clips of these episodes out on those platforms. Had a couple of clips do really well on TikTok and Instagram, so I thank all of you for that. Also, look out for clips from this episode as well. And if you want to voice your opinion under the clips, definitely do that over there, and interact that way. I actually was going to try to do this as a live stream, but had a little issue going live. So we'll see if maybe we can do it this weekend. We'll try it. It's something I definitely want to do. So stay tuned to that. If you follow the Facebook page for Chompin at the Bit, you'll get an alert there or an announcement as to if I get it figured out or not and when I do go live. So yeah, I think that's everything. So appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And if you didn't like it, let me down in the comment section what you would change about it or anything like that. Definitely open to criticism. I can handle it. Trust me, after the clip I put out about Colorado and Colorado State football, if you didn't think I could handle it before, you can go on Instagram and check that whole thread out and some of the comments from that video. But yeah, it's all good. And yeah, so be safe out there. God bless. I'll catch you in the next video, which should be this weekend, where we'll look at week 4 in the NFL. I'll give you the rest of my picks for the week. Plus anything else that happens in the sports world will definitely be on the weekend episode. So once again, I've got Packers plus 1.5 for Thursday Night Football. Just want to clarify that. But all right, I'll leave you to the rest of your day. Enjoy yourself. Be good. I'll see you later. I'm out.